And what happened at that point?
So her and her sister both came back in. We were on the middle level, so her office level of Penthouse 5 at that point. She was agitated. Mr. Depp was agitated. I felt it was time to get Mr. Depp out of the situation, so I stepped in between Miss Heard and Mr. Depp, telling Mr. Depp that we were leaving and that it wasn't up to him anymore. At that point, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a fist and an arm come across my right shoulder, and I heard and saw a closed fist contact Mr. Depp in the left side of his face.
And whose fist was that?
That was Miss Heard's fist, Amber Heard's fist.
And where was Whitney when this occurred?
Can't say for sure, but I'm guessing, or my best guess is behind Amber.
How did Mr. Depp respond when he was punched?
The initial look on his face kind of mirrored mine, kind of a look of shock, like what just happened, where'd that come from? At that point, I wasn't going to let Mr. Depp get hit anymore, so I moved him down the last flight of stairs to the lower level, and told him we're leaving. It wasn't up to him anymore, just for his safety. I had let him get hit by a Red Bull can. I let him get punched. My job is to ensure the safety and well-being of my clients, and I felt like I hadn't done that, so it was my time to do my job and get him out of there.
And so where did you go?
So Miss Heard and her sister left Penthouse 5. Again, I don't know where they went. I'm assuming they went through Penthouse 4. We're either in 4 or 3. Mr. Depp was not pleased with me, naturally. He went into the bathroom for a couple minutes. Miss Lloyd talked to him, and they came out and agreed that it was time to leave. So as we were leaving the front door, Mr. Depp got right in my face. He was wearing sunglasses, and maybe not sunglasses. He was wearing glasses. Pulled him down, pointed to the left side of his face, and told me, "That's your fault." And I agreed. And then we proceeded to the vehicle, and we left the loft.
What did you see on the left side of Mr. Depp's face?
There was already a nice little shiner. Definitely swollen and red. Wasn't black and blue yet, but it was definitely swollen and red.
At any point during this incident, did Mr. Depp throw anything at Miss Heard?
No.
At any point, did Mr. Depp throw anything at anyone?
No.
At any time during this incident, did Mr. Depp physically respond to Miss Heard?
No.
Do you recall Miss Heard's birthday party in April of 2016?
I do.
Mr. McGivern, during the incident we just discussed on March 23rd, What did Mr. Depp have on his right hand?
So he had the same bandage that he had when he arrived from Australia. So it was heavily wrapped. Yeah, a heavily wrapped bandage. I don't know what was underneath, but it was definitely wrapped.
Do you recall whether it was a hard or a soft cast?
I do not.
Okay. Now, moving forward to Ms. Heard's birthday party in April 2016, were you present at that dinner party?
I was not.
Okay.
I started my shift again around 11 p.m. The party was going on in Penthouse 5. I don't typically take part in get-togethers, so I think I probably hung out in the CP. Shortly after I got there, the party kind of winded down. I believe Mr. Depp got there. He was late, so I think he got there shortly after I started my shift. He went into Penthouse 5. Again, the party wound down shortly thereafter. And then, as far as I know, Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard went back to Penthouse 3 shortly thereafter.
Did you see Mr. Depp again that evening?
That morning I did. Early that morning, yeah. Or the following morning. Again, I got a text. My best guess is around the same time, 4. There were so many incidences. They're hard to keep straight, but probably around 4 or 5 that morning, requesting my presence in Penthouse 3.
And what did you do after you received that text message?
Went to Penthouse 3.
And what did you observe when you went to Penthouse 3?
Again, a verbal argument. I think it was made clear that some phones had been thrown out the window or something, down to Broadway. Mr. Depp was again ready to leave, to get out of the situation. He had his couple bags over his shoulders. Wanted to grab a few valuables that we always used to grab when this happened. Some framed letters from either Hunter S. Thompson or Marlon Brando. Yeah, and then I believe we left. I think I got him out of the situation again. We did look for the phone briefly, I think, on our way back to West Hollywood. But my main concern was getting him away from the situation, so I didn't find the phone. And then we proceeded back to his suites or properties.
What do you recall about Ms. Heard's demeanor that evening when you saw her?
Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing that. I mean, they were arguing like usual in those circumstances, but nothing pops out.
What, if any, injuries did you observe on Ms. Heard that evening?
I didn't notice any injuries.
In your time working for Mr. Depp, have you ever seen Mr. Depp physically abuse Ms. Heard?
I have not.
Now, you mentioned a couple occasions. How many times have you witnessed Ms. Heard be physically abusive towards Mr. Depp?
Obviously, the March 23rd thing in Penthouse 5. physically abusive. I don't know how to define that, but I have seen her physically try to prevent him from leaving before. So grabbing his arms, standing in front of him, pushing him. Yeah, again, I don't know if that's physically abusive, but that I've definitely seen her touch him on multiple occasions.
Have you ever observed Mr. Depp use any drugs?
I have.
And what drugs have you seen Mr. Depp use?
Are you talking non-prescription drugs?
Yes.
Marijuana and cocaine.
How many times have you seen Mr. Depp use marijuana?
Too many to count. I mean, daily.
And how many times have you seen Mr. Depp use cocaine?
A couple. 2.
How would you describe Mr. Depp's demeanor when he's using marijuana?
Chill, for lack of a better word. Mellow. Yeah, I don't know how to better describe it. Just super mellow.
And how would you describe Mr. Depp's demeanor when you've seen him use cocaine?
The same. So I've seen him use it, like seen him use it a few times. I've known of him using it other times, and I feel like it levels him out. Yeah, I haven't noticed any difference when he's used it.
Have you observed Mr. Depp consume alcohol?
Absolutely.
And how many times?
Like marijuana, too many to count. Pretty regularly.
And on how many of those occasions did Mr. Depp appear to be drunk?
It would depend on what you mean by drunk, but not many. The only time I would say I've seen Mr. Depp drunk was when he would fall asleep on the couch, sitting up with his boots on. Other than that, Mr. Depp handles his liquor very well.
How would you describe Mr. Depp's demeanor when you've seen him consume alcohol?
No different than any other time. Again, super chill, super mellow. Yeah.
Have you ever witnessed Miss Heard consume alcohol?
I have.
How many times would you estimate?
Again, too many to count. She drank fairly regularly. So I couldn't even give you a guesstimate.
On how many of those occasions did you observe Miss Heard behaving drunk?
Can't say other than the incident on March 23rd, where I didn't see her drinking, but I assumed based on her behavior, she was drunk. Other than that, I can't say I've ever seen her obviously drunk in my eyes.
I have no further questions.
All right, cross-examination, Mr. Rottenborn. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. McGivern.
Good morning, sir.
So you said you've worked for Mr. Depp for about 9 years, right?
Correct.
And he hasn't been in town recently, so you have another job. Is that what you said?
Yes.
But you still consider yourself an employee of his even today, correct?
I do.
And when you do work for Mr. Depp, he pays your salary, right?
Not on salary. He pays my wage, yes.
He pays the money that you make for working for him.
Correct.
And you've referred to him a few times during your testimony this morning as your client. Is that right?
Yes.
So when you're working security for Mr. Depp, it's Mr. Depp and Mr. Depp alone that is your client, correct?
That is not correct.
Well, in the altercation that you testified about with Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, you referred to only Mr. Depp as your client, and it was your job to keep your client safe. Do you remember that?
Objection, compound.
I'll allow that. Go ahead.
I do.
So at least in that instance, he was your client, not Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
Now, the evening of March 23rd, 2015, you actually walked into the middle of the argument with Debbie Lloyd, correct?
Yes.
So you testified earlier that you were downstairs and Ms. Heard was downstairs in the lobby and you'd gotten Ms. Lloyd, but that's actually not accurate, is it?
To the best of my recollection, that is accurate.
In fact, when you and Ms. Lloyd entered Penthouse 5, Amber and Mr. Depp were already in there having a verbal argument, correct?
That is not correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. McGivern, do you see a document on the screen in front of you entitled Witness Statement of Travis McGivern?
I do.
Okay. And you, well, let me ask you this. Is that your address below?
The document's pretty small. Is there any way for me to... Oh, there we go. Yes, it is.
And that's where you currently live?
Hang on one sec. I'm sorry. That is a P.O. box.
Okay. Is that yours?
It is.
Okay. Now, this is a witness statement that you prepared on behalf of Mr. Depp in the UK trial, correct?
Yeah, the statement went away. Oh, there it is.
You see it?
Yes, it is.
And who drafted this statement?
Myself, along with an attorney. I don't remember exactly who.
Was it Adam Waldman?
At that point, I don't believe it was, no.
If you go to paragraph 5, please, on the second page, and you understood when you wrote this statement that this was going to be submitted to the court in the UK trial that Mr. Depp brought, and that this was your testimony on behalf of Mr. Depp, correct?
Yes.
And about 2/3 of the way through paragraph 5, there's a sentence that says, when Ms. Lloyd and I entered his residence, Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp were having a verbal argument. Is that correct? Did I read that right?
That is, yes.
So that doesn't say anything about you meeting Ms. Heard in the lobby of the Eastern Columbia building, does it?
No, it does not.
And when you entered the penthouse, you can't recall the specifics of what the argument was about, correct? Take that.
No, like what they were fighting about? Absolutely. No, I don't.
And you don't know anything about what caused the argument in the first place, correct?
I do not.
But you do remember Mr. Depp being very angry, right?
I remember both of them being very angry, yes.
And you say that he gave as good as he got when it came to what they were saying to each other, right?
Yes.
You say they were both being verbally abusive to one another?
Yes.
And you testified that at some point Miss Heard was on the mezzanine level, right? The level of her office, or kind of the middle level of the penthouse?
That's correct.
And Mr. Depp was on the lower level, correct, when you entered the penthouse?
So when Miss Lloyd and I re-entered the penthouse, yes, that's where they were.
And you weren't preventing Mr. Depp from leaving at any time, correct?
Preventing him from leaving? I was encouraging him to leave.
Right. And he could have, when he was on that lower level of the penthouse, he could have left at that point, correct? You wouldn't have prevented that.
No, I would not have.
But instead, at some point, he walked up to the mezzanine and, as you say, he rearranged Miss Heard's closet, right?
Well, that wasn't on the mezzanine level. That was on the top level. But yeah, he rearranged the closet.
So he traveled up 2 levels in the penthouse to throw down every rack of clothing that she had, right?
I don't know about every rack, but he definitely threw down some racks of clothes and shoes.
Okay, I believe you said every rack, so that's just why I was asking you to confirm that. You said he threw a rack down the stairs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then at that point, he went back downstairs?
To the mezzanine level, yes.
Now, that wasn't the only time you learned of Mr. Depp causing damage in Penthouse 5, correct?
Couldn't say for sure. Nothing's coming to mind.
He had, you said he had something on his hand from his injury that he sustained in Australia, right?
Yes, his hand was wrapped.
Now, you weren't in Australia with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, correct?
I was not.
And what he had on his hand could have been a hard cast, correct?
Sure. I have no idea what was under the wrap.
And isn't it true that while he was on the mezzanine level and Miss Heard and her sister were there, that he was reaching for Amber's hair while he was trying to hit her with that cast, correct?
That is not correct.
And you say that you can't say for sure where Whitney was standing on the mezzanine level during this altercation, correct?
That is correct.
And it's possible that she was standing in between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard then, correct?
No.
Well, you say you can't say for sure where she was standing. So she could have been standing in between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, right?
No, because I stepped in between Miss Heard and Mr. Depp. So she definitely wasn't standing in between them.
Well, in fact, you saw Mr. Depp push or shove Whitney Heard, correct?
Absolutely not.
And it was only after Mr. Depp pushed Whitney that Amber stepped forward and punched him in the face. Isn't that right?
That is not correct.
Now, moving on to April 2016, you weren't there for the party, you said, correct?
I started my shift while the party was going on.
But you weren't in with the partygoers, you said, right?
That's correct.
And
I was
you,
not.
you said at some point Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard went back to Penthouse 3, but you have no idea what went on between them in Penthouse 3 while you weren't there, correct?
I do not.
And you said that you gave security services to Mr. Depp primarily in Los Angeles. Is that right?
Yes. A little bit of travel, but mostly in LA.
Okay, where did you travel to?
Vegas, up north, we did a road trip, kind of, they called it their honeymoon. So Napa, San Francisco, Big Sur, San Jose. Those are all with Miss Heard. I've taken Mr. Depp to China before.
Okay.
Yeah, and then a bunch of local stuff, Palm Springs, Santa Barbara, stuff like that.
Okay. You weren't on a plane flight from Boston to Los Angeles with Mr. Depp and Amber in May 2014, correct?
I was not.
And you weren't at the Hicksville Trailer Palace in May or June of 2013, correct? With them?
I was not.
You were never in the Bahamas with them, including in August 2014, correct?
I was not.
You were not in the Bahamas with them in December of 2015, correct?
I was not.
You were not in Tokyo with them in January of 2015, correct?
I was not.
You were not in the Eastern Columbia building with them on the evening of December 15th, 2015, correct?
I don't know.
To the best
If
of your
they were-
recollection.
Yeah, if they were at the lofts, I typically worked every night, but nothing about December 15th is popping into my head.
Okay. And you definitely were not in the Eastern Columbia building with them on the night of May 21st, 2016, were you?
I was not.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. McGill.
All right, redirect.
No, Your Honor.
All right, is this
Thanks,
witness, all right, is this witness subject to recall?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. McGibbon, you're subject to recall. So just to let you know, you're still subject to the rule on witnesses, so you cannot talk to anybody about your testimony or watch any of the proceedings of this case. Okay, sir?
Understood, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
You do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next witness?
Mr. Depp calls Jack Wiggum, who should be waiting in the electronic lobby.
I've got him.